Cheer up, sleepy Jean. Oh, what can it mean to a daydream believer and a homecoming queen? Cheer up, sleepy Jean. Oh, what can it mean to a daydream believer and a homecoming queen?
Er bekommt mit einem Landsmann zu tun, 55 Jahre alt, heuer bereits im Halbfinale beim European Darts Grand Prix und im Viertelfinale bei den Austrian Open in Graz. Aktuell die Nummer 19 der Welt. Hier ist The Bronzed Adonis, Steve Beaton!
Well, welcome to the Multiversum in Vienna for day 2 of the Austrian Darts Championship. The European Tour is back, and some of the big names in darts are back on the Euro circuit. We get to see the likes of Michael van Gerwen, having won 2 World Series events back-to-back in Australia and New Zealand. Peter Snakebite Wright will be here. The UK Open and US Darts Masters champion Nathan Aspinall begins his Austrian Darts Championship campaign, as well as the likes of Daryl Gurney, Mensur Suljovic, the Austrian number 1. He's one of 4 Austrians in action today. And Mensur takes on the very exciting young talent, Adam Gaulas, just 17 years old, who was stunning on his debut yesterday in the European Tour, just 6 months after picking up darts for the first time. But we get going with 8 games this afternoon here on PDC TV. Got a couple of world champions on the way, various major champions, and it all starts with the bronzed Adonis Steve Beaton against James Wilson. Beaton, a bronzed Adonis, kicking things off, and here in Vienna it is so damn hot. Not just because Beaton's on stage. It is warm outside, and the action will be red hot over the course of this afternoon. I'm Dan Dawson, Rob Malarkey is alongside me for the opening game. It is the bronzed Adonis and the Lethal Biscuit.
Game on.
Yeah, very red hot. So red hot, in fact, that George Noble was concerned about the lack of water on the table for the 2 respective players in our opening match of the afternoon. But the ever-attentive, the ever-professional George Noble sorted that very swiftly indeed. And we're off and running on day 2 of the Austrian Darts Championship 2019.
56.
Steve Beaton, the number 10 seed, a man who has been an ever-present on the European Tour stage so far this year. He was the only player to come through qualifying, UK qualifying, that is, for the first 8 European Tour events. He was a seed in the Czech Republic last time out as well. Seeded again here, but it's James Wilson looking to set the tone with the first 180 of the match. It's just the ton 40.
And very healthy crowd in here at the Multiversum 4 today. As Beaton puts in a 174 to leave himself on a potential 11-darter to kick things off.
59.
Wilson a 6-2 winner yesterday against Gavin Carlin.
Steve require 87.
Treble 17. Doesn't need to go 20 and ball. So now we look at double 8.
Game shot first leg,
starter for the Adonis.
Second leg, James to throw first.
Nicely started off by Steve Beaton. Just had to quickly check with George Noble that it had found its way into the treble 18 bed.
92.
Winner of this to face either Mensur Suljovic or Adam Gaulas. That match taking place tonight in the evening session from 7:50.
59.
Beaton, a former European Tour winner, of course.
41.
That hasn't happened for James Wilson, but he has threatened
125.
You get the feeling a lot of players aren't big fans of being first game on in afternoon sessions like this. But Beaton, he
100.
just seems to love it. It doesn't really matter whether you get late night Beaton action or a bit of afternoon Beaton delight.
96.
He
Well, the
just
thing
seems
is,
to do what he does.
I mean, if he wins this, he can go back to the hotel, freshen up. What time is it now at the moment? 1 o'clock, 1:05. He's got the bulk of the afternoon to work
140.
with. It's a glorious day. He can go for a stroll. He can have a meander through the cobble streets of Vienna, the old town.
No, he's not called the Bronze Adonis because he stays inside of the dark.
Change uniform,
He'll be out there
128.
in the Speedos, soaking up the rays. I hope. 128. Treble 20 and ball. Yes. No.
103. Stevie require 81.
Well, James Wilson produced a 158 checkout yesterday in that win against Carlin. That was one of the highlights of that match.
56. Change required 25.
Wilson will return looking at 25. Good finishing yesterday from Wilson in the main, 50%.
Change on the second leg. Change
That was
Alex
pretty
Steve
sure-footed
to
as well.
throw first.
And he's 50% right now. Might have
100.
to score a little bit better. Had a few bounce outs. Saw a few bounce outs from a number of players yesterday. Although more concerning is not the bounce out so much, because there's a lot of people hitting wires and hitting their own darts.
45.
But you've seen it already in the very first leg of this one. It's the way the darts are going in the board, and they're not sticking in at the right angles. They're dropping off, and you're seeing players
60.
moving elsewhere around the board. They're not happy with how they're sitting in there. Now, it is very warm here in Vienna. We're not talking Prague levels of warm, where there are all kinds of issues with the boards. But it may well
41.
be playing a factor. The boards may have become a little bit soft. We'll see Simon Whitlock on the stage in the next game, taking on Vincent van der Voort, and he's a guy who's spent
60.
a lot of time faffing in his garage to try and come up with equipment to make sure that when his darts go in the board, they go in at the right angles. Just I've started talking about it, none of the darts are actually dropping in the same way as they were in leg one. But
a few illustrative examples there of bounce outs, just to reinforce the point. But it was something Luke Humphries touched upon yesterday. I had a quick chat with him after his win over Jamie
43.
Hughes. There was one awful bounce out from the bullseye. It was plumb. And the same thing happened to Hughes actually as well. But Humphries was saying it actually impacted on
85.
his checkouts and his routes to glory, if you know what I mean. And he was sort of guessing where he should go and perhaps re-evaluating where he should go, because he
100.
didn't want to go for particular portions of the board. And he said it was clearly having a big impact on his game.
yeah, it just puts doubts there, doesn't it? I mean, look, they're going in very solidly. Absolutely no problem with those.
100. Stevie require 138.
Wilson had that strange bounce out, didn't he, last
He did,
year
yes.
on the Euro Tour, where it sort of did a reverse flip.
Yeah,
And,
I'm not caught. I mean, Steve Beaton's had an incredible one.
81.
Where it
Change
I think it's
require
in Hildesheim,
170.
bounced out, hit the dart, and then just rested and just landed on the 20. Point was touching, got the points. And it looks like Beaton is going to
60.
get two
Stevie
darts for a
requires
2-1 lead
57.
here to make it 3 consecutive holes to throw. Double 10.
47.
Change
21
darts
require
thrown.
110.
Hasn't got the leg in the bag. Wilson, 18 darts thrown, and he's still not below 100. Treble 18 would have left the double. And that's just a lazy
42.
dart.
Stevie required
Yeah.
10.
A little bit casual at the end.
He's on the
but
third
nothing
leg,
casual about
Steve
that double
Beaton.
5 from Steve
Full leg
Beaton.
James
Made the
to
point
throw
yesterday,
first.
James Wilson, one of these
Game
players
on.
looking to make up for lost time on the European Tour. He's got £4,000 on the European Order of Merit so far, thanks in large to a third-round appearance in Hildesheim earlier this year.
131.
But let's not forget, Wilson was a European Championship quarter-finalist in 2016. He reached the semis of the tournament in Riesa that year as well.
137.
And for a player who's got fairly good recent pedigree on the European Tour, the fact he's only made 2 of these Euro Tour events this year is something of a surprise.
125.
Well, he has been struggling with this eye problem. He had a frayed nerve around his eye, and so basically he was...
95.
It
It
looked
led
like...
to a flicker, didn't it?
Yeah.
I had something similar a few years ago, yeah.
And
I'm not a darts player, obviously.
no, but I mean, it wasn't really. It's not as if it was his vision that was the main thing. He just couldn't sleep. And so,
85.
I mean, I'd imagine if you go several months without getting a proper night's sleep, you end up getting psychotic.
It's not
probably
nice.
significantly worse at darts.
40.
Yeah, I can vouch for that.
Change your require 160.
But it appears that things improved. You're not seeing him having that flicker in his eye. He seemed to be quite happy with
140.
how he was feeling. And look, if he gets back to where he was, James Wilson has been. There have been spells where he's threatened to win titles.
140.
And they usually come in spells.
Change
3-4
your
weeks. He plays
20.
really, really well. Goes semi-final, semi-final, quarter-final, semi-final. Should be able to find it from there. Yeah, it does
on the
do.
full flag. Change your
Yeah, making
reflect
full value of those
Steve
first
to
two
Roper.
darts. Noticeable yesterday as well, he had two really powerful spells in that
60.
match against Gavin Carlin. He had the early break with that 1-5-8 checkout that I mentioned for a 2-1 lead. He consolidated it beautifully with an 80 checkout on the bull as well. And then Carlin had an opportunity of his own at 1-5-8, missed that, and Wilson came in and pounced again. It was really good game management, I thought, from Wilson yesterday.
Yeah, I know. I think, look, it
44.
wasn't his best win. It was an 89 average, wasn't it? But the thing is, he got the win. He's got an opportunity to be better. Everybody is in the same boat today. Win your game today, you get through to the
100.
final day of action where you might have to win 4 games. But it's still just that one game to prepare for the day. It's kind of different demands than those
133.
quite grueling and tricky to negotiate final days on the European Tour. But everybody should be feeling pretty comfortable with what is asked of them today.
96.
There is a big crowd here. We've got 4 Austrians in action. They are going to make it difficult for anybody who goes up against them. The first Austrian player we get to see is
100.
Dietmar Berger, taking on Dave Chisnell. Berger getting his first ever win on the European Tour yesterday.
Not quite a cheeseburger, more of a cheeseburger, that one.
Chisburger, I like it.
140. So
Not the only
164.
burger, maybe not the only burger that Dave will tackle today. Who knows? Glorious offering.
44.
Hotel
Change
last
your
night.
require 65.
65 here for Wilson. This for a break of throw. Beaton just under a little bit of pressure here. Looking at Shanghai on 20s if he gets the chance. Wilson needs tops. And Wilson
He's on
finds
the
tops, and the
flag.
finishing is
James
good
Wilson.
again from James Wilson when he's getting the opportunities.
6 flag James to
He's
throw first.
taking advantage,
Game
and
on.
there is the breakthrough.
Well, it's a 15 darter. Nothing wrong with that. The standard so far has not been
92.
magnificent. And James Wilson isn't even reaching the average that he put in yesterday. But it is enough for a 3-2
81.
lead right now against the man who is seeded 10th here and sitting very, very pretty for the European Championship by virtue of his consistency in qualifying.
8 out of 8
44.
in the UK qualifiers. 2 appearances as a seed. Of course, if he were to lose this second round match, he wouldn't pick up any ranking money.
No, but he's already accrued more than 20 grand, so we know he's going to be at the European Championship. It's just a question of how high in that list he can be and whether he'd go there as one of the seeds. It's very much up for grabs over the course of the next 3 or 4 weeks. And as I said, James Wilson,
100.
when he does hit form, he tends to hit form for a burst of 3 or 4 weeks. If it comes good for the Jammy Dodger, it could be a very lucrative little spell as Beaton gets down to a finish.
Great response from Steve Beaton. Down to a finish first on the Wilson throw as he looks to wrestle this break of throw back.
100. So you require 160.
Silly darts from James Wilson, leaving 165. Not the first time he's been in that
100.
position in this match either, where he started on the 20s, meaning that he wiped out his chance of leaving a checkout. And look, he could have had a shot here, could have had a shot for the leg, and he hasn't, and Beaton's going to get a couple of darts to break back.
And he's smiling about it, but
Look, that's a
133.
mathematical
So you
error
require
that has
60.
denied him a chance to win the leg and potentially go 4-2. And if he loses this match, that could be the deciding thing.
He's on
yeah,
the 6
and he's lost the
flag.
leg and he's got
Steve
only
Beaton.
himself to blame, I feel, there.
By the way, you see that dart in the double
Steve
top?
to throw
How it
first.
went in flat,
Game
the board dropped. That's what I was on about 4 legs ago.
I am very surprised, by the way, that these two have only met once before.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of odd.
But it's 3 years ago.
34.
It's one of those things with James Wilson where he has these spells of form, and if you happen to not be in form at the time, James Wilson will be going to
140.
quarterfinals and semi-finals for a month or 2 every year. If you happen to not be in form, you might not run into it.
140.
The Adonis, though, he's just so conceited. He's always at the big tournaments, seemingly. He was at the match play again.
55.
Yeah, quarter-finalist at the UK Open at the start of the year.
99.
A quarter-final and a semi-final on the European Tour this year. 3 quarter-finals on the Pro Tour this year as well. Not so long ago, he was a finalist on the European Tour in Maastricht.
43. So you require 128. $96.
Well, Beaton has dragged his average up to the mid-90s, which is
96.
kind of what
So you
we
require
expect
32.
from him.
Game shot on the
A
7th leg.
13
Steve
darter
Beaton.
for Steve Beaton will only
Hey,
improve that.
James
Goes
to
back
Rofax.
into the lead at 4-3.
Game on.
Yeah, let's not forget as well, Steve Beaton, one of the men to have produced a 9-dart leg on the European Tour this year as well. That was against Kirk Shepherd in the first round in Saarbrücken, and it was day
140.
1. Sadly, not too many people were in the arena to see it.
I wasn't.
You weren't there either.
No, I was flying the
82.
Premier League. Steve Beaton throws a 9-dart on the Euro Tour, and I was in the air. I mean, I might have been in the air, had been in the venue to watch it. I've gone through the ceiling. That's more like it. James Wilson is a big 180 hitter, but we have not seen him score anything like his
99.
capabilities in this match so far. It's his first 180.
Crowd finding their voice. This one is just bubbling up nicely now. We did have a plethora of 6-5 matches in the evening session yesterday on day 1. This one could well go the distance as well.
57.
James Wilson was in control of this leg. He is not anymore, because Steve Beaton is going to leave himself tops.
140.
And all of a sudden, James
And you
Wilson
require 64.
is in big trouble. He does get 2 darts for the leg. And it's just enough.
Just as well, he did have 2 darts as well, by virtue of that treble 16.
55.
Beaton must have been hopeful of returning there, looking at tops for a 5-3 lead. As it is, Wilson still involved here. Good match to start things off here today in the Multiversum.
125.
Whitlock and Van der Voort on the way next.
134. 45. 140. 123.
40 to leave himself on the double in the last leg. Didn't get a go at it.
100.
Knocks a ton off this time and should get at least 1 dart for a 5-4 lead. And time may be running out for James Wilson to turn this around. But there could be pressure. Oh, that's an unfortunate deflection.
72.
Well, it might be academic anyway, because Beaton is looking at tops here for a 5-4 lead.
Game shot
And
a knife
Beaton,
leg. Steve Beaton.
you've got to take your hat off
To
to
make
him.
James to throw fast. Game on.
Well, look, they've settled into a bit of a rhythm in these last few legs. And we've seen some
57.
really consistent good darts. That was a 15 darter. It was a 15 darter from Wilson prior to that. 13 darter prior to that. 14 darter. 15 darter.
140.
The last 5 legs, it's been more than 100 average from the pair of them. And that's why Beaton has dragged his overall standard. There you see. It's only really that third
100.
leg, which was a bit of an aberration. Everything else has been a very, very good standard.
I still say it though, James Wilson may well just be left to reflect on that decision when he had the break. He led 3-2, and in the 6th leg he was looking good for a 4-2 lead on the 2.65. Left himself that bogey number, and they are the sort of margins that can ultimately settle a match like this.
Well, we've said it many times. You make a counting error, yeah, most of the time it doesn't matter. But there will be a game somewhere where it costs you. And it may not just cost James Wilson a place in the next round and £1,000. It may cost him, you know, he could have gone and win this tournament. Beaton will not win this match in this visit, but he does chip away.
Requires 72.
Leaves himself double 13 for reasons unknown to me.
Tops for Wilson this time.
52.
And that has opened the door for Beaton, although he is looking at a potentially awkward double 13. And he comes inside, and he's now looking at double 4. And he's inside
22.
again.
Well, I mean, I don't know why he's gone 5 double 4 there, because the first after double 13 looked like it was covering a portion of the bed anyway. James Wilson made a counting error that may have let Steve Beaton off. Steve Beaton has made a counting error that may have let James Wilson off. And we are going to a last leg decider.
11th and final leg, Steve.
Well, as you said, Dan, this is a big leg and a big match and a big weekend for James Wilson, not just in terms of this tournament and the European Championship, but the doors it could open as well. And 85. This is exactly what happened with Wilson this time last year in Hildesheim at the end of August. Going into September, he had that run to the final, and all of a sudden opportunities were created by that, and a similar sort of thing is in the offing here for Wilson if he can grasp it with both hands. Good start as well.
What a start today too. Last leg decider between the Adonis and the Jammy Dodger. George Noble calling an 11th and deciding leg once more.
He loves him. Loves a 6-5, does Noble. The 6-5 special. Wilson, look at this, a 140 backed up by a 180. And maybe, just maybe, that counting error in leg 6 will be forgotten very shortly.
59.
Because Beaton can only respond with a 59.
I'm not sure Steve Beaton will be forgetting leaving double 13 for whatever reason, because James Wilson has put in his best scoring leg of the match in the last leg decider and leaves himself 46. Beaton's going to give himself a chance.
140.
Leaves himself a combination checkout, only requires 1 treble, but James Wilson only requires 1 big number to get 2 match darts. He's survived 2 darts for the match already. And he's gone 10 for double 18, likes this bit of the board. The switch to double 9.
37.
9, as they say over here.
98 away for Beaton. He's got the treble 20 for double 19, and he's off target again.
James, you require
match starts
9.
have been squandered by both players. Wilson's turn once again, looking at 9.
Don't miss the big number, as we call it. Oh, that's very solid. And that's very solid as well. And James Wilson edges out Steve Beaton in a thriller. A 98 average almost for the bronzed Adonis, and not enough. A silly counting error meant that he missed 2 match darts in the 10th leg, and then he couldn't get the job done on double 19 either. James Wilson through to the final day on the European Tour. He will take on either the 17-year-old surprise package Adam Gaulas from the Czech Republic, or the hometown favourite in Vienna, Mensur Suljovic.
To the next round. That was a thrilling finish, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I knew Steve, he's a brilliant player, and you know, you can't give him an inch. And I knew when he broke me, I thought, I've got to come back here, I've got to get back. And I thought, his leg, you're going to have to break him. That's simple as. And I went 140, 180. I thought, right, come on. And then I missed a double, and I thought, he's going to hit this double 19 straight, first dart, you know, last dart. And he didn't. And I'm like, thank you, God.
Er sagte, Steven ist natürlich ein sensationeller Spieler, dem er eigentlich keinen Raum geben darf. Schwächert seems to be a good place for you, doesn't it?
I love it. I do. It's a lovely Vienna. I really do, and I like playing here. And the crowd, fantastic, absolutely brilliant. I love them. Brilliant.
This is Europlus, James Wilson.